for main engine start. We have main engine start. 2, 1. Booster ignition and the final liftoff of Discovery. A tribute to the dedication, hard work, and pride of America's space shuttle team.
I don't care what any of you guys say. That is awesome.
Space shuttle now rolling over onto its back for a 5-minute ride into orbit. Discovery now making one last reach for the stars.
One last reach to the stars. One last reach to the stars. Ooh. One last reach to the stars. Sorry about all that. Jeez. I told you it was going to be a bad show. Bear with me. It's a good way to wreck a show, huh?
Down as the orbiter passes through the area of maximum pressure, reducing the stress
Let's try
on the
this.
shuttle as it goes supersonic.
Here we go. Gentlemen, ladies, welcome to the show. Thanks for stopping by. This is Rocket Tips, Rocket Talk, and Wingtips. I'm a little excited. I just saw a shuttle launch.
Discovery, you are go and throttle up.
Basically, yesterday I actually got a little bit choked up seeing that, and I was really excited to see it, of course. But basically, the whole point behind it was it finally took off. Finally, after 3 months. And the coolest thing about it was the fact that they literally had 2 seconds to spare before they had to scrub for another 24 hours. Because the range safety officer's computer, if I understand correctly, the range, yes, almost 4 months, thank you, Tim. The computer basically crashed. And they were like, shit! You know, and I had to fix it. So, it was, yes, I got a webcam. It was a very big deal, and they literally pretty much pulled it out of their ass. It was... But I give them credit, because they brought it out, you know, they got it together nicely, and I was thrilled. So, to honor that, I had to wear this shirt again, because my favorite orbiter just took off. So, it was a little scary. Not really scary in the literal sense, but, you know, you got a bunch of nerds, thousands of us, with our eyes focused on this, and you got me typing away, answering questions. And, yeah, that was, I believe it might have been the first time ever out of a 5-minute hole travels. But, I mean, unbelievable. Just, it was awesome. And, like I said, I get goosebumps watching every shuttle launch, but this time I actually got a little bit choked up. I was very focused on answering questions, you know, for Space Vidcast, of course, and I kind of had to step back a little bit and, you know, absorb it, and it was just, I don't get that emotional, but I was, you know, I had a lump in my throat. I was a little choked up. But at the same time, you know, my wife was having some kind of health issues, and, you know, I had that in the back of my mind too, so it kind of added to it. But the shuttle launch, you know, she was awesome as being sick, you know, she had, like I said, she actually was really cool about it, and she understood the importance of it, and she didn't, you know, make it as big a deal to me as it was to her, and I'm extremely grateful. Thank you, Jenny. But, you know, I owe her big time for that, because, you know, it was a big deal. So, yeah, I apologize if the frame rates are slow. I apologize if the audio sounds overmodulated or anything. If you need me to, I can turn it down or whatever, but yeah, that was that was rough. And yeah, Jenny is an awesome wife, so I do owe her. And but no, it was so exciting. I woke up, I got 1 hour of sleep. Yeah, I got 1 hour of sleep the night before. I was up from 11 a.m. until about 4 or something, but tried to go to sleep, and then was gonna sleep until about 9. So I can wake up and help with the live launch coverage from Space Vidcast. But I got 1 hour of sleep. Finally, I was like, screw it. I woke up 6:30. You know, like I said, I got about an hour. Couldn't go back to sleep. And about 6:30, I jumped on the computer, and I was there all day just fielding questions. You know, I let the more complex questions go to Space Vidcast because they had people there to answer. But I was just slinging questions, slinging answers and everything out. You know. And, no, Half Dead, you did not wake me up calling. I was awake every time you called, and I was just slow to get to the phone a little bit, but yeah, I didn't sleep, at all, but I was going all day for that. I ended up a little bit late for school, so I have to do 4 questions, because they hit you for 4 questions every 15 minutes, but stayed awake all through school, finally got to sleep at 4 o'clock the next night, so I was awake for, I don't know the math, I think it was 37, I never actually tallied it up, but out of 37 hours, I got 1 hour of sleep, and it was all because of the shuttle, and, I go in, it's kind of like my version of the entire NFL football season in, one shuttle launch. And the wife hates it. She can't stand it because I geek out. I spend a lot of time on this thing, but it's really important to me. PE, those ads are a pain in the ass. I can't stand it. I'm not good enough. I don't make a good enough show to make it go away. Space Vidcast does. They got plenty of people. I don't. This is as, amateur as it gets. I don't do a script, or scripts. Maybe somebody might be able to help with that, but I don't think that they do that. But, yeah, so that was kind of a big deal. A friend of mine, a guy named Lost from Hobo Wars, also known as Abe from Anywhere Else, like the real world, asked me a question. I'm going to move on just to another topic real quick, and then I'll jump back into it. I just got to open up my notes. Bear with me. He was asking last week, he mentioned something about the Messerschmitt ME-109. And the thing about it is, he noticed the engine was interesting. And the reason it's interesting to me, and also him, is because it had an inverted V12. So, normal engines like this, well, it's like that. The reason is, and I'm documenting this for the archive, is because that way if it took a hit from below, it wouldn't take out the engine. Okay. And, we had to learn a little bit in general portion of my airframe power plant school of the different types. And that was one of them, was the inverted V. And the reason they did that as opposed to normal configuration was, like I said, so if it got hit, you would hit the top of the cylinder, you wouldn't actually hit the bottom where all the important bits are, or the more important bits. And turned out, after doing a little bit of research, I found out that it had 2 radiators. It was water-cooled, liquid-cooled, but it had 2 radiators, and one of them served as a backup. Okay, Germany, nice, good idea. P-51 only had 1. So, just wanted to point that out. I thought that was actually kind of interesting. I mean, the problem with, a liquid-cooled engine is that, you have a lot of weight. Water is heavy. So, in aviation, in aircraft, weight is paramount. You're always trying to find a way to save weight, unless you're dealing with ammo. But, yeah, so, turned out that was the, it was actually kind of an interesting subject, so figured I'd throw it up there, and now you have it. Going back to the Discovery thing, actually I'll bring up the chat because that's what I'm here to interact with. Yes, it was interactive, or injected, sorry, and I don't know where the oil reservoir was. I didn't actually look at that. But a few of the interesting points about STS-133, or Discovery, is that it had, its first flight was flown in, oh crap, now I don't remember. It was STS-41D. 85 I want to say, but I'm not sure. Frack. But it did both of the official return to flight launches, which is awesome. It did, if you want to count the third one, because they had issues after STS-120 and 121 with the foam loss, they had, a little bit more come off. After they did that, they did a third RTF, if you want to consider that. 84. Thank you, Helpdesk. Much, and Troubles too. But that was a big deal. Discovery actually led led the fleet as far as that goes. There's another siren. Sorry. It did both or all 3 return to flight missions. Did the 100th flight of the shuttles. Hubble. It took Hubble up. Took John Glenn up. I actually met a couple of the crew from that flight. I even have a patch over on my guitar case or a sticker, not a patch. It launched Ulysses, which is it's a probe that's now pretty much on its way out, if not shut down entirely. That was in a solar polar orbit. I mentioned it last week that we have our ecliptic plane where all the planets are go around this way. Ulysses actually went like this, and its orbit went out as far as Jupiter. And guess what? Mentioning on the subject of 2012 last week, Ulysses was the one that went out as far as Jupiter and never saw Nibiru. So, all you hoax believers in 2012, scary, it's gonna happen and I'm scared. Sorry, nothing there. It also flew. Discovery has the honor of taking this one, the highest orbiter ever in the shuttle fleet. 360 statute miles, and that was to do servicing to the Hubble. Long way up. And nothing, including Atlantis, sorry Ben, has ever been able to get quite that high. Something I should mention is that to get to Hubble, has to use 51% of the onboard propellant that they use for the OMS pods, the orbital maneuvering system, and the reaction control system, the thrusters and the retrofire rockets, if you want to call them that. These things, the big bumps on the back by the tail. So it used 51% just to get up there. Then it has to be able to deorbit and get back down here. It was a lot of number crunching for the rocket scientists. But yeah, so Discovery's had a pretty illustrious life, and I'm thrilled about that. Kelly asked a question. She thinks it might be a little silly. I don't think it is. But have they figured out a way to make a lightweight gas-cooled engine? Unfortunately, no. And most gas-cooled engines, by that I assume you mean like air-cooled, the closest thing they can get is aluminum or magnesium. And that's what they did with the Volkswagen Beetle. The original engines, the blocks, were made of magnesium. Now, yeah, it's lighter. However, I don't know if any of you guys have ever seen a Volkswagen Beetle catch on fire, but you can't put them out. Lightweight gas like nitrogen or something? No, you can't do that. Unfortunately, it would take so much effort to keep the nitrogen cool enough to wick away the heat, or the freon, or whatever it may be, that it's not weight effective, it's not cost effective. And once you set magnesium on fire, it creates its own oxygen. It's a pretty big deal. They had the USS Forrestal back in the, I want to say 74. My numbers are wrong. I have the book. It's over there somewhere. But they have magnesium in the brakes. And on the USS Forrestal, they had a rocket that basically went off, shot across, and lots of bad things happened. And it was a very, very big deal. And there's lots of videos on YouTube showing the fire and everything. I think 134 men died, and it was bad. But the problem was they couldn't put the fire out. They tried, but the fire teams were killed. They had 3 fire teams. 2 of them were killed in the first 18 seconds. And you had the brakes catching on fire. You had bombs blowing up and catching on fire, cooking off. You had fuel spilling all over the flight deck, down into the hull of the ship. And it was a big deal. You see just on the flight deck of what happened. But no, they had to push the aircraft down overboard into the water. And even after they went underwater, you could still see fire coming from the brakes, because it's creating its own oxygen. It doesn't put itself out. The only way you can put it out is if you literally smother the hell out of it, literally, or displace all the oxygen. I mean, it's just magnesium fires and anything like that. Phosphorus, all bad stuff. So, unfortunately, no, there's no real energy and cost-effective way to cool the engines any more efficiently than what they do. Right now, they're air-cooled for aircraft. So, just yesterday at school, we were watching a video. Guy had a Harley V-twin, one of these deals, powering his airplane. And I asked about it. The instructor showed me. I was like, dude, that's actually kind of cool. And he had a composite nose for it, so it was real streamlined. Just a Harley Davidson motor. So I got a kick out of it. You know, I appreciate creativity. One guy had a Chevy V8 engine on a plane called an RV10. It's a home-built kit, and that was kind of cool. He had the radiator on the side of the aircraft, but he didn't have a cowling on at the time. It was just a ground test, and, you know, big giant radiator, had a LS1, which is a Corvette motor, you know, put right there on the front of the airplane. Hey, it works, you know? So I thought that was pretty cool. You can say what you want, but I think it was I want to say a 350. It might have been more, but, you know, that's pretty cool. You got a lot of power. And when it comes to an aircraft, it's not so much about horsepower as it is torque. And if you're using the right reduction gearbox, you get all the torque you need, especially with an LS1. Come on. So, and if you really want to push the limits, not that I would advise it, but if you really wanted to, you could use, you know, nitrous oxide. I'm not a big fan of it, but just saying. Do flare guns use magnesium? Yep, that's exactly right. So, like I said, they're very intense, and you can't put magnesium out with water. So, you throw a flare in the water, it'll still keep going. Same concept. But I wanted to kind of take it easy a little bit this week because we had so much drama going on with the you know, the launch, and now today was the docking, which was awesome. Got to see the back flip, and, you know, they did the time insertion burn, or yeah, time insertion burn, where the ISS is here and the space shuttle is here, and they actually back around and fire the thruster for about 11 seconds to slow the closure rate. And they had the camera from the space station tuned looking at the space shuttle, and you actually got to see the ring. I mean, it was literally like you're looking at me like this. This ring started off, you couldn't see it. It was, you know, several thousand feet away, and then just went boom, like that. So, I know that's a really bad rendering, but that's what it did. And, you know, everybody who was watching is like, oh, it's cool. You know, everybody's like, oh, space is boring. You see something like that, and it's just like, that's neat. It looks like a starburst or something. So, trebles, the max altitude, if they really, really, really wanted to push it, and they got everything out of the payload bay, and they only took 4 people up, the skeleton crew, they could get up to about 450 miles or so, and that's it. There's not really a whole lot you can do otherwise. If you wanted to really push the limits, and they can't do it because it would take a lot of effort, you could put the liquid oxygen and hydrogen into the payload bay. I did a podcast on it, but if you put that into the payload bay, you would only get another about 8 seconds of burn time is what my math came up with, because hydrogen takes up a lot of volume and don't weigh much, so it's pretty inefficient. It would be, well, there's no such thing as a circular orbit because you always got gravity fluctuations, but if you say as close to circular as, you know, feasible, about 450 miles is max altitude. If you want to do an elliptical, you might, don't quote me on this because I haven't done the math, but you might be able to get out to maybe 900 miles or so for the, oh crap, what's it called? Perigee. Or apogee, I'm sorry. The high point is apogee. If they had the stretch tanks, yeah, they'd definitely be able to get a little bit more, but I think they'd be better off adding another engine too, which would kind of sort of equate to the J246. 1200, nice. 1200 miles high in orbiter. Well, then my estimates weren't too far off. The OMS tanks, if they were stretched out, or if they could, you know, if you sealed off the payload bay, not that you really can because of the radiators, but if you could stretch out the OMS tanks, yeah, you could probably get a little bit more out of it. I mean, they don't make a whole lot of thrust, but it's doable. Oh, welcome to the show, Space Diva. Thanks for joining. I do this normally every week, but it's on Fridays. Tonight it's just on Saturday because I had school yesterday. But right now I've got the floor open to questions, so I know everybody had a bunch of questions during the launch. I'm cool if you want to ask more that you didn't have a chance to the other day. Fire away. I'm not an expert. but I know enough to get me by, so. Putting a pressurized container in the payload bay and take people up like a school bus. Oh, you're thinking of like Airplane 2. The problem with that is you're looking at a lot of weight and consumables. You wouldn't be able to take that many people up because you've got to add locks, liquid oxygen. You've got to have food, of course, if you're going to be doing a longer flight. Fluids, you're going to have some sort of water. Probably, if you're only going up for a suborbital flight, you might need like an 8 or 16 ounce container. He ordered the supplemental tanks in the cargo hold. I'm glad they didn't, because now you'd have to redo the plumbing and you'd have to make the valves, almost instantaneous. And it's kind of a big deal, because if they get any kind of fluctuation in those main engines, they're going to self-destruct because they're running under constant pressure. And if they get that little bit of fluctuation, because if I remember correctly, the turbo pumps for the oxygen and hydrogen are spinning at like 28,000 RPMs. It's a ridiculous number, and they're like this big. So if they get that little bit of a burp, what you see me type in the word RUD a lot, rapid unscheduled disassembly, that's probably what would happen. Why is mission control in Texas, not in Florida? That's a good idea, but the reason they did it was the same reason why JPL isn't in Florida and Goddard Space Flight Center isn't, in Florida. They wanted to space it out across the country so that everybody got a hand and not all of the money was focused on one area. Politics, yep, just like Jim said. They wanted to spread the wealth, basically. And it's not a bad idea, but it's extremely impractical. Look at the solid rocket boosters. They're building them in Utah. They have to be able to break down into segments to ship on train through a mountain. And the only reason that they're the size that they are is because that's as big as they can build them to fit through the tunnel in the mountain. So, but yeah, it basically comes down to politics. There's an old mod they looked at for putting supplemental tanks for the OMS engines. Okay, I didn't do any research on that, so that's new to me. I just hadn't noticed it. Sorry, I'm still a little sick. When the sun hits the shuttle, it looks bumpy. What material is that? That is the thermal blankets, and basically they're a flexible. Oh, what is it? FRSI, I think. I don't have a bot active in here. If somebody can hop over to the SVC chat, let's see if I can. FRSI, flexible reusable surface insulation, coated Nomex felt. There you go. So that's basically what that is. Nomex, they use that as a fire retardant. They use it for firefighting. Nomex hoods, they come down about here. You put them on. You put your mask on. Keeps you safe. Well, flip that. You put the mask on, then you put the hood on. So, it's kind of rigid. I haven't touched it myself, so I can't say one way or the other. If Flying Jenny or Apache Man were here, they might be able to help out, but they're having a space tweet up, so I can't mess with them too much. They're having fun. They just put cake on Astro Girly's face. Dave Maston did. So, they'd be able to have a better answer than I can. I've never felt it. I've played with a heat shield tile. They're cool, but never the blankets. So, I don't know. The tiles themselves, yeah, they're the best way I can describe it is they're like whipped glass, but in a ceramic shape or kind of a texture. It feels like fiberglass, but it's not. I won't say dense, but it's rigid, and it don't take a whole lot. It's like hard styrofoam, kinda, but it really feels like whipped compressed fiberglass sort of, but it's not heavy or dense. The blankets are Nomex on steroids. Yeah, that's not too far off. I don't know, like I said, I don't know the texture, but the tiles themselves, they're interesting. Do I know what happened to the Falcon 9 Flight 2 second, or Falcon 9 Flight 2 second stage after it went elliptical? How many orbits did it burn up in the atmosphere? I have no idea. My forte, unfortunately, and I apologize, I will improve, I promise. I don't know a whole hell of a lot about anything else besides the shuttle. I know a little bit, but not much. QG, Quantum G, he might actually be able to answer that for you. But that's his forte, I think. It seems like it to me. Yeah, I can tell the shuttles apart. Come on. Why wouldn't I be able to... Dude, come on. Yes, I can tell them apart. The biggest difference for me, obviously, with Columbia, it has the goofy football at the top of the tail, the vertical stabilizer. It also has the black chines. These right here, how the wing comes out right here, that's a chine, and that is black on the Columbia. I don't have a rant about Endeavor. It's not a bad craft. It's just not my favorite. She's the youngest. Now I could go off on Atlantis, but that's a dead horse. It's laying over there kicking and twitching and bleeding, and there's an eyeball hanging out. The shuttles have souls. He can tell them apart just by their aura. Yeah, that's not too far off. Endeavor, I really don't have a whole lot to complain about, and you spelled it wrong without a U. There's supposed to be a U in Endeavor. Megan, oh crap, why did you have to throw that at me? Megan MacArthur, huh? I remembered. Thank you, I remembered. I was getting there. I had Megan Mullally from, Just Shoot Me, I think? No. Will and Grace. And Jenny's typing it right now. That's the name I had in my head, but there you go. Endeavor is fixed, yes. Let's see. I actually met Shannon Lucid. She was Capcom for a long time. I don't know if she still is. But I actually got to meet her. She's cool, but very proud of herself. Very proud of herself. I apologized profusely. I was like, I'm sorry, I don't know who you are. And yeah, she has a unibrow. But nice lady. She's just very confident. She's one of those that had to, she gave off the impression that she had to work up from nothing, from the low end. But, she seemed kind of put off that I didn't know who she was. She's like, I'm Shannon Lucid. I had the most time in space of any female. I'm like, oh sorry. Yeah. Sorry, don't kill me. Don't hit me with your unibrow. No, but she was very proud of what she did, and hats off to her for that. But yeah, she was. It was interesting meeting her. I had a very light discussion. She may or may not remember. It was awkward, but she was on the space station Mir, and I asked her, if it was any kind of uncomfortable or anything, if it was awkward for her. Being up there with the two cosmonauts, and she didn't get into a lot of details. HD, catch you later, man. Thanks for stopping in. But I asked her if there was any kind of tension or anything while she was up there, and I mentioned that in the podcast too. But she actually they approached her and made her uncomfortable while she was up on the space station. They're trying to be professionals. I get that. But, you're on a space station, you're going to get lonely. And she said that the Russian cosmonauts approached her to the point of making her uncomfortable. Asking for, some sort of sexual interaction. So, she didn't get into detail. I don't want to know detail. But, that's all I'll say on that. But she is a good, yeah, favors, maybe, hey, we're lonely up here, it's just us, what do you say we, So, STS-3, there you go, STS-3 was rough. Had a total of 36 tiles lost, 19 were damaged, lots of missions have had lost or missing tiles, yep. It looks like shuttle was made to lose tiles and survive. Columbia was a leading edge problem, so I spend all this time with the tiles. Well, the problem is when you come in from from space, you're coming in at about a 40-degree angle of attack. And what that literally means is as long as the nose comes in at 40 degrees, I guess that's about 40 degrees. It comes in, very, very steeply. And all this has to absorb that wing loading, the pressure and the heat, and you have I think it's a quarter to a half-inch gap between the surface of the tiles and the plasma, which is 10,000 degrees. But because of that laminar flow, the little boundary layer, it's only about 2,500, at like the nose and that, which is why it's a different color, it's a different material. On the back, it's not so much of an issue. I think that only gets up to like 700 degrees, where all the white tiles are. But on the bottom of that, that's a big deal. On the leading edges, it gets hot, but it doesn't get as hot on the belly. If the wings were bigger, it would take even less heat, produce less heat or absorb, whatever. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me slow down and take a second. If it comes in with larger wings, it has a lower wing loading, which would create less heat. Sort of like a paper airplane with a paper clip versus a rock, if that makes sense. If you come into the atmosphere, you throw a paper airplane with a rock in it, it's going to sink a lot faster. So it's going to, if you had a super sensitive thermal imaging, you would pick up more heat with the rock being on board. More particles colliding with the surface at a given time creates more heat. So the tiles are a big deal on the belly, because if you have any kind of disruption, they've actually seen it. They've done testing on it with protrusions. The gap filler, if you remember that from a few years ago, it disrupts that smooth boundary layer and creates an excess amount of heat filtering downstream. So was the I think it was STS 115. No, maybe it was STS 115. I think they had the gap filler sticking out, and the guy had to go over and kind of pluck it from between the tiles. Had they left it in there, they estimated it would have created a problem. What was it? STS 27. I'm sorry. STS 27 was a DoD mission, Department of Defense, and a lot of the stuff that they had was classified. But if you run a search on Google for STS 27 landing, and if you can find a high-res picture of it, you see a lot of tiles missing. It looks like the thing is basically made of black styrofoam, or styrofoam that was painted black. And you see all these little white flecks and stuff. And all those little white flecks are debris impacts from the frustum on the solid rocket booster nose. Thanks, Trebles. You got the wiki link in the chat. That works. Cool. But if you look, you see it. And they actually there's an air data probe, ADP, on the nose that actually kind of deploys when it's re-entering. And, sorry, I saw something corner my eye. It deploys when they're re-entering to take air data samples. And had they not, one of the pieces of foam was knocked loose from that. Had that been just another couple of inches to any direction, that would have allowed superheated gas to come in, and then that would have caught, sorry, I saw the word metal melt and tripped up. If it would have been missing a tile in any direction, it would have caused the spacecraft to have had a burn through, would have melted the structure, bad things would have happened. Partially melted aluminum mounting plate for the L-band antenna. Oh, L-band. I thought it was the air data probe. Thank you. Due to thermal protection tile loss in STS-127. So, yeah, if it would have missed if it wouldn't have hit that L-band antenna, it would have burned a hole into the structure itself. Like I said, it would weaken it, and you would have another Columbia. Excuse me. But yeah, that was they looked at it, it was like, holy shit. But the thing was, they were in space, and they were looking at it with black and white cameras, and they sent the imagery down, and because it had to be encrypted first and then decrypted, some of the data was lost, some of the resolution was lost, and they were like, no, it's fine, it's just the way the sun's hitting it. And everybody on board is like, I don't think so, it doesn't seem right, it looks weird. And they were like, no, that's fine, no big deal, don't worry about it. And it turned out that, yeah, thanks, Jenny and Helldesk. But, sorry. They, you know, the commander actually said, you know, he told the crew on board, it's like, we may not make it out of here. He said, if this thing actually does fail, excuse me, I'm pouring myself a beverage. It's cherry Pepsi. Yeah, well, you know what? I'm not getting paid, so it's fun. Product placement. Ta-da! Okay. Anyway, maybe Pepsi will sponsor me. Right. But no, he told the crew, he's like, look, we may not make it out of this, and he actually prepared a speech. Basically, I'll put it politely. I told you so. Go rot in hell or something, you know. I mean, it was a big deal. And you know, he had already mentally prepared a speech just in case, you know, right before things, you know, went bad for him. He was going to pass a little message down to NASA. It's like, you need to de-ass yourself. So, why did they send up a crew of 6 on shuttle? Why not make it 4 and use the extra weight to save more supplies for the station? Trebs, the biggest thing is weight and balance. They do send up a crew of 6 on this one, but for STS-135, they're only sending 4. For STS-134, they're sending 5. So, as we progress from 33, 34, 35, it's going to be 6, 5, and then 4. The reason they do, like I said, is partially because weight and balance, consumables. Fortunately, LOX has mass to it. And by, you know, having that mass up front, it helps change the weight and balance. If you ever watch the, you know, the payload bay when they approach the space station, you see like everything kind of shifted toward the back. It's to help counteract the weight of the nose, the stuff on the forward side. We actually got to learn weight and balance, so you know, in A&P school, and I like weight and balance. So I do apologize for if I'm clipping and spiking and everything. I do try to keep it at a dull roar, but I get excited about this stuff, and it's a really crappy mic. This mic, excuse me, I love this mic. Ben sent it to me so I could do the podcast, and this is just the mic itself. There's no bass, but you see how big this damn thing is. This thing's a beast. But for whatever reason, I guess because it's an earlier model, it doesn't work with Windows 7. So I'm not happy about it. But I love that microphone. I mean, it made me sound really good. I hate my voice enough as it is. I have an old Logitech that's probably, you know, it's older than a lot of the modules on the space station, I can tell you that. No preamp. I mean, it's plug and play. It's USB powered. Sounds great. If you listen to a couple of my most recent podcasts, you can definitely notice the difference. I'm not complaining about your microphone. I'm complaining about Logitech's quality. Yeah, it's USB. That's the port right there. So, I mean, yeah, for what it is, it's really not bad. And Ben, if you're listening, thank you. I do appreciate it. Just wish I could use it. It's one thing about Windows 7 I don't like. A lot of the stuff isn't backwards compatible. Ooh. So. But, what else? Anybody else got any more questions? Start slinging them, guys. I love this stuff. Marital spasms? Yeah. Well, I'm still trying to figure out a tactful way to get Jenny to have Carrie Ann and her side by side to compare boobs. But that's just me. The Space Shuttle flight deck is about the same size as like a 737 flight deck, if I remember correctly, or flight deck cockpit. So the model number, I have no idea, Pete. I tried, Ben tried, we bashed. Samoya Cam, she's out of action tonight. She's sick. She's got a achy belly, so she's hiding out, camped somewhere. Yeah, her tummy's not feeling good. Princess is yucky. Yeah, I did try looking for the model number. Not the model number, but the. Fair enough, Jenny. Maybe I'll have to try to convince Ben to send a charitable donation to you. Oh wait, that would be like prostitution, wouldn't it? Maybe not. No, it's a donation. It's fine. Okay. Is she playing dead? Okay. But West Coast Choppers? What? Who's this guy? Dude, I think you're in the wrong chat. Oh yeah, by the way, Jen, that's PE, Public Enemy from Hobo Wars, and he's taking Princess. So you gotta face him. It's okay, he's old. You don't have to worry too much. But, yeah, so, like I said, I'm really excited about the Challenger. Jesus Christ, I've been doing this for too long. Maybe I should hang it up. That's it. Good night. Thanks. No, kidding. Discovery. I'm thrilled about Discovery. I'm glad it finally got off the damn ground. I'm glad it finally, got to launch. I'm glad that things finally smoothed out with all the software and hardware. But that was, it was a really big deal for me. And it sucks to see it be the last flight, but at the same time, I want to see something better and, more innovative come along. Maybe NASA will work. PE, if you don't know who that is, I'm going to slap you. And I'm going to call you a daft bint. KB7 Get, that's awesome. I've never talked to him. I've met the astronauts, kind of in passing, but I've never actually contacted any of the space shuttle, space station, any of that. But that's cool. That's, yeah, I get a kick out of that. I enjoy hearing people's stories, like, when they're on their off time or something. And, so I get a kick out of that stuff. Hoping that, they're a little less professional off camera, but I don't know if they are. It would be neat. There was a comment made earlier at Space Vidcast about gender inequality at NASA. Is there a reason that male or female make better astronauts? Diva, yeah, actually, to an extent, it's kind of like the same with fighter pilots. Females can handle higher G loads. Shovels, yes, I think I will. Especially after wheel stop. But they handle better G loads. They can handle more pain. I mean, they got to deal with stuff every month, and that kind of sucks. I'm kind of glad I'm not a female for that aspect. But no, it's they also handle stress a little bit better than men do. They're a little less. This is just my opinion. I mean, I'm a registered doctor. I can tell you everything you need to know about this stuff psychologically. No, they can probably handle. Yeah, I was just gonna say they can probably handle. A lot of that stuff, the stress and everything, more better. They can probably handle it more readily, but they can't deal with the separation as well, I would assume, because we can, guys kind of want to get away. That's why we die younger. We die younger than females do, or earlier. So, pile up of humans wanting to work them, so just a quick hi and on to the next person. Oh, pile of hams. There have been studies on zero G would affect development in children. Diva, I don't know. We don't have enough of any kind of baseline experience with that. We've never had a kid in space. I don't necessarily know that they. Oh, female astronaut. Lisa Novak, yes, goofball with the diapers and the pepper spray. She was a winner. But no, it was something that I think that they should look into. Having at least like 16-year-olds, send them up to space. The only problem is you've got a 16-year-old in space with buttons. What does this do? Everything would have to be idiot-proof. You got 16-year-olds in there messing around with buttons? Come on, you saw Space Camp. So, let's see what else. During all the experiments with mammals we've tried to breed in space so far, the embryo hasn't grown, if I recall. I think that's accurate because the problem is you don't get the proper seeding of the egg in the placenta, and that could be an issue. The astronaut that spooked the crew. Oh, Jim, that's a good point. I forgot all about that. Thank you. Okay, I think it was STS-61D or 65D, something like that. They had an astronaut on board. I do want to mention this. He was doing an experiment, alright? And he's doing his work, no big deal. But he was having a lot of trouble with it. He was outside the payload bay. And there were 2 incidents, so I might have them both crossed. Forgive me. I didn't have a chance to actually, separate. My brain is thinking goofily, and there's been so much going on at once that they all kind of mesh together, so bear with me. No, he made a comment that said, basically, if this doesn't work to my advantage, I'm not coming home. And it wasn't verbatim, but it was very similar to that. Something like, I'm not coming back in, or something like that. And they were like, wait a minute, or I'm not coming home. And it set off a couple of red flags. And they were like, wait a damn, hold up. And the guy kept asking a lot of, it was 2 different missions. Another one was that they didn't have enough, they didn't work with him. He actually joined the team later on, part of the crew later on. And he was a civilian, so they didn't quite know how to take him. They didn't quite know how he was going to be. They didn't learn how well he worked together with the team, as well as he should have. They didn't have a good experience with him, a long enough experience. And he was really having a hard time. He was asking a lot of questions that seemed a little uncomfortable about the hatch. And finally the commander, while he was asleep, woke up, floated over, and basically secured the hatch so that if the guy ended up, being disgruntled or whatever, he would lock the hatch or he would open it. They were concerned that he would depressurize, and you don't want that to happen. So, just as a precaution, he actually did padlock the hatch shut so that nobody could get out. And then right before they got back into the seat for the deorbit burn, unlocked it, good to go, stick in the pocket. Nobody knows the wiser. But, it's kind of like the gossip of the moron at work. You got one guy out of the group who kind of looks at you funny like this. You're like, no, we'll baby-proof everything. So, dude, that was a big deal, and they locked it. I mean, I over-dramatized some things, but he actually locked the hatch because somebody was going to unlock it, or potentially could, because they were asking too many questions. Don't hit the big red button. Well, what's the big red button do? I don't know. Don't touch it. But I want to find out what it does. Don't touch it. So, trying to look for absolute perfection in a crew could backfire. Absolutely, yeah, no doubt. It was a little scary, I guess, but you got to work well as a team. And I talk about STS-120. They all work together pretty well. But they had a lot of fun on STS-120. They were screwing around, having a good time. They had to work. Like I said, they had the solar panel rip. So, Kelly, thanks for coming in. I hope to see you next Friday. I should be having it normal time next Friday. So, stop in 7 o'clock next week. And thanks for coming. I appreciate it. Good to see you. But, yeah, it was a little scary for me, in my opinion. The fact that they had to lock the damn door. So, your hatch would be locked anyway? Yeah, well, you kind of, on the way up, you don't want it launched just in case something bad does happen. Once you get to orbit, yeah, but, before you get actually down, before you do the deorbit burn, make sure it's unlocked. STX-61B, thank you very much. I knew I was close. But, yeah, it was, let's see what else. Any other questions that pertain to the shuttle or something? I'm trying to stretch it out a little bit. The chain of command, they actually, Space Diva asked if in a situation like today where you have two vessels docked together, what's the chain of command? The ISS is basically the head domain. Anything that the shuttle crew wants to do out of protocol, they have to consult with the commander of the station. If it actually pertains to the shuttle itself, commander of the shuttle is in charge. Generally speaking, it's right now the boss, they go to the respective spacecraft until the official, like crew swap out. They stay. If you can beat up Kelly, yeah, Kelly's a wrestler. I wouldn't mess with her. Help desk, I'll get to that in a second. When the space shuttle and the station crew go to sleep, they go to sleep in their respective ships. They don't kind of hang out and sleep together and, hey, let's go sleep over in the Harmony node. They don't do that, unless they want to get a little bit of the Marvin Gaye rock going on. You know what I mean? But no, they don't do that. They kind of drift back to where they're supposed to go. Hang on one second. No, they don't do campfire songs or anything like that. Sometimes I'll play guitar, though. They'll have a little jam session. Guys will bring up their guitars, little portable ones. Helpdesk asked how much space is left inside the PMM, which is the pressurized multi-purpose module. After all the supplies, isn't the amount of cargo sent mass limited instead of volume limited? Permanent multi-purpose module. Thank you. In the Kibo Japanese node, there's a baby grand piano. No, that's just the little keyboard. Casio made it. No, they actually they bulk out before they max out, is my understanding. A lot of the stuff that they take up in the like the PMM or the MPLM is going to be a lot of science racks, fresh clothes, maybe some fresh fruit. Sometimes they take that. Actually, they put that in the payload or the crew cabin. But they'll take fresh food up, stuff like that. It's pretty cool. But no, they max out before they bulk out before they max out. They run out of up mass before they run out of volume. Mike Massimino took up a full-sized harp. He had a harp on the space station. That would be, or on the Hubble mission. That would be awesome. Pete, thank you for stopping in. Same as always, I appreciate it. Jenny, they've actually had a stowaway fly on the space shuttle. What was it? Sometime last year, they had a fly get inside the cockpit, and they flew up to the space station with the fly in the cockpit, and he was buzzing around doing his thing all the way up. So it was interesting. The ATV was spacious, but I got a kick out of watching Kibo. When they first opened that up, there was nothing in there. It's like, dude! And they just started rolling, floating. It was a blast. It was like watching something from Space Lab. Or Skylab, I'm sorry. The extra half a gram of weight. Yeah, that's somebody's pencil. But... Well, if you're in 0G, you're not going to have to worry about a fly. The video froze? Oh no. Did it freeze for anyone else? Is the feed broke? Don't tell me it broke. Okay, good. But, yeah, they were doing the acrobatics right in the middle of the module. That was pretty neat. And, it was just, it was a blast. They had a great time, and then they had to start putting science racks in. They're like, oh, man. So, they have a blast. It's like a brand new, it's a playroom, Have fun. There's nothing there. You can't break anything. You can't damage anything. There's nothing to cause any problem, like, bust your toe on it. Thank you. Yeah, I have a really bad nose. I know. But, what was it? They did have a concern when they started putting in, like, the Kibo and Harmony and all that, because the space station was just basically a long tube. And once they started putting in the new modules, they actually turned that long tube into a intersection, a four-way intersection. So you've got, and there's video of it. You've got guys come screaming down through there, and they're climbing on, it looks like they're climbing on the wall or scooting across the floor. And it's neat to see that. But then they said once they got that second, that intersection put in, now you've got these guys cruising along, and suddenly they're like reaching out to grab whatever they could. They got legs and toes sticking out, trying to find handholds to slow them down so that they can come up to the intersection, look both ways, shoot across it before anybody else runs into them. That's funny. But they said that was one of the concerns that they had, was because you got into the habit of, just shooting down through there, Mach 75, and now all of a sudden you've got cross traffic. So it's like, you're trying to stop before you run into them, and just because you don't have waiting space don't mean you don't have any mass. So it was just neat watching that, and it was kind of cool. I enjoy it because it's not just a straight solid tube. It actually has a couple of bends in it. So like I said, they're scooting along and they're grabbing onto handholds as they're going. But then all of a sudden they got that cross traffic, and the cross traffic, they're doing their thing, and all you see is these eyeballs pop out. They look both ways, and then, they shoot across. Sometimes they're cranking a hard left turn. So, Jim, I think you're right. I think that might be why Paulo flies feet first. But it's just, they had a lot of fun doing that. And, every now and then you get to come across that video on YouTube or something. You see them doing, everyday normal stuff. And they're going just, they're blasting down through that tube. But I enjoy it, Yeah, space might be boring to some, but there's so many little things that make it that much cooler. They had a lot of applause when he reached the rail in the Kibo lab, and yeah. So, they're doing tricks in a big giant empty tube. I'd do it too. It's like the Vomit Comet without the part where you hit the bottom of the arc. So, I got a kick out of that though. I just enjoy watching all the little things like that happen in space. I just, it's fun to me. So, sorry about all the clicks. I meant to wrap the microphone in some sound foam, but, like I said, I get a kick out of watching that stuff. Whoa, that's a steep bribe. But, no, I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen on the next two missions. It's going to be bittersweet, though. And, thanks, Jen. P, that's actually not too far off. She is a really, really good cook. In case you guys are wondering, she said if I get off of here on time, she might actually give me a milkshake for dessert. And then P.E. replied with a awesome, Jenny's milkshakes bring all the boys to the yard. Excuse me. So who is Sky High 69? And are you greeting me or Whoa Jeffrey? Troubles, yes, I am. Absolutely. Oh, okay. What's up, Pete? How you doing, man? You're just about to miss the tail end of the show. Glad you made it, though. I am looking forward to the Soyuz photo op fly around. They're only going to have, I think it's 40 minutes or something. They're going to be orbiting the space station, something like that. No, they don't do Tang. They haven't done Tang in many, many years. That was kind of kitschy, it was a little cheesy. Let's see, what else? What? Hopefully not your mom. Alright. But, yeah, I'm looking forward to the Soyuz fly around. I'm looking forward to the actual fly around because they've got so much traffic up there by the space station. And, so, I am looking forward to it. I want to see how that goes. It's going to be interesting seeing all those bits of hardware. And hopefully the re-entry will be flawless. The launch is 11 days, so this time next week it'll be starting to, they should be doing the separation maneuvers to get away from the station. I forget what time they depart though, or what day for that matter. But yeah, so it was, they had a good time, and yesterday was a little, or not yesterday, Wednesday was a little exciting for everybody because of the range safety officer and all that. Oh, good question. The shuttle depends on what you're referring to, because right now they're hooked up to the space station. Once they separate from the space station, they have to take a couple of days to get away. They have to take a couple of days to increase the distance from the space station, and then they have to do their inspection. Then they have to get everything ready to swap over the computers from flight mode to landing mode, which takes a while too. And after everything's said and done, you're looking at about 2 to 3 days. If they were just in orbit doing a normal thing, they could be back in, depending on orbital mechanics, they could actually get you back down in about 8 hours. But if they say, okay, it's time to go home now, deorbit burn, and they go, right, and they fire it up, they're back here on Earth in about 45-50 minutes. So, I just got a private message. Your voice seems real quiet. I don't know what you mean, Brian. Soyuz, actually, that doesn't take too long, if I remember correctly, Troubles. I'll have, Pete, I'll have more information if you remind me Monday at school. I'll try to break it down a little bit more for you. I'm kind of running short on time. The wife wants to make me milkshake. If I don't get off here quickly, I can't have one. Yeah, it's pretty quick, Jim. It doesn't take long. They get out ASAP. So it's actually pretty surprising how quick they get out. But they have a much wider window to make it in. They have the steppes of Kazakhstan, a big giant target. Space shuttle has a runway. So Colt, it's a milkshake. She just makes really good milkshakes. They're fresh, real fruit and all that stuff, so they're good. Oh, I'm sorry, Brian. Hang on 1 second. Now I gotta find you. There you are. There you go. But yeah, so with the shuttle, the problem is, one of the biggest problems is you have to land while the target is really close to being in your path, because I don't have anything around to demonstrate with. Bear with me, please. Crap. Alright, this is the Earth. Your orbit is this. If your target is on the Earth somewhere here, and then it rotates because the Earth rotates, that orbit stays in one direction. So, once your target gets underneath, that's when you can do the deorbit burn. You flip around and shoot backwards to slow you down. The cool thing about that is, you only have to slow down about 150 miles an hour, and then you fall into the atmosphere. Doesn't take much. But yeah, you have to be pretty much almost directly overhead of the target, which would be the runway, for the space shuttle to land. And the space shuttle, because it has wings, has some cross range ability. So if it has to go here, but your target is here, they can actually come in, do a bank, and they can turn towards the target that they have to land at. So there's a lot of different layers, but ultimately that's one of the biggest reasons, aside from doing the inspection. They have to wait until their orbit is pretty much almost right over top of the runway they're trying to land at. And if they can't land at that one because of weather, the one down in Florida, they have to land in California, and then they can, do it from there. So, Brian, I don't have a whole lot of time left. I'm really getting short, but I'll hit on that real quick. You got to take that up with Jenny. ISS shuttle attitude control. All right. Pete, I will be getting back on next Friday night at 7 o'clock because we won't have school, hopefully. Area 51. They don't call it Area 51 anymore. It's actually called Groom Lake. STS-3. Interesting fact about STS-3. It landed in 1983 at White Sands, New Mexico. In 2003, when it was destroyed, it fell apart, Columbia did, they actually found sand still in the debris. It was still, they didn't inspect the entire thing and clean it all out. They found sand from White Sands, New Mexico, in Louisiana, in that debris from the wreck. Wow! But it may not seem like a big deal to some people, but it is to me. The attitude control. When the shuttle is docked to the ISS, they try to use the shuttle's propellant to power the ISS, orient it, because they're just going to dump it overboard anyway. But when they do like an orbit boost, they'll a reboost to get it into a little bit higher orbit. They'll separate the or they'll use the shuttle as propellant. The OMS, the Mickey Mouse pods, these things right here, the bumps, they'll use that to give it a reboost to a higher orbit. Because, like I said, they just dump it overboard anyway after, while they're on their way in, so it's useless. The shuttle doesn't use an ion engine, no. We do have one called Vasmir. I don't have the bot active, so I can't explain what it is. What different types of attitude control does the ISS have? The ISS has, I think it's called FGB, which is the Russian segments towards the back end of the station. They have small thrusters, and then they also have main thrusters or primaries that provide the thrust, but they only use that when the shuttle is not docked. Excuse me. They, what was it, last year or the year before? They fired those thrusters, and the way that they did it was goofy. I don't know the details, but they talk about having everything has a natural frequency and natural harmonic. When they did that, they fired it, and the entire space station, which is 360 feet long, actually hit its natural frequency and just started flexing, just boom, boom, and it was, you see everything inside shaking. So it's kind of exciting. PE, thanks for stopping in, man. I'm glad you can make it. Hopefully it wasn't as boring as you thought it might have been. I'll see you next week if you stop by. When the shuttle is docked, is the orbit different circular rather than elliptical and wide? No, they keep it about the same. The biggest thing with the shuttle being docked, and it's something that they worry about before launching, is the beta angle cutout, and that's just the amount of time that they spend in sunlight versus dark. Because they have to get into the dark to help release a lot of the heat buildup from the radiators, which is created by the avionics and computers. GPCs, general purpose computers. No, not Oval Quick. It's actual ice cream. She makes them herself. She's got one of those boat motors, the stick mixers, handheld blender. She calls it a boat motor, so I call it a boat motor. It's about that long, but she uses that. It's got bananas and strawberries and all that good stuff. But article about Ed Astra's rocket Vasmir that'll be attached to the ISS in 2014. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I would like to see it, because if they hook up a Vasmir, that's gonna, or Vasmir, however you want to pronounce it, they're going to use that for the orbital reboost, because it doesn't take a whole lot of effort if it's over a long period of time. Yeah, it'll save a lot of mass for reboosting. Absolutely. So, I'm actually, I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes. And I apologize for my nose. I know it's hideous. Deal with it. I don't have the best genes. I'm shaped like Humpty Dumpty as it is. So, by the way, shut up, Colt. You and your flappy drywall. And your little fishy too. I see you out there. What are you doing in my yard? No, anyway. I'm just being silly. Ignore me. I am going to go ahead and stop recording. I actually remembered to record this time, huh? So, I'm going to hang around for a few minutes just for a little bit of a post-show. Jenny probably don't want me to, but I'm in a really good mood. So, I'm going to go ahead and stop this. If you guys want to hang around, you're more than welcome to. I will see you guys next week, Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern. Rocket Talk and Wingtips, another episode. I'll go over some of the space shuttle stuff, and if I hear any really good questions worth actually mentioning, which most of them are, I'll bring them up. If you're watching this still and you're not tired of it and you haven't stopped watching me, don't think that your question is so stupid that it's not worth asking. Because I've seen some pretty stupid questions that actually weren't stupid questions at all. Like, they thought, I can't ask that. That's dumb. Try me. I've seen some interesting questions, so. Fire away. thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next week. Till next time, keep your eyes to the sky.